Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang magiliw, perlas ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay.
Lupang hinigang, duyan ka ng magiting.
Sa manlulupi, di ka pa sisigil.
Sa dagat ang tulong, sa simoy at sa langit mong buhaw. May dilag ang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal.
Ang iskap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning.
Ang bituin at araw na kailan pa may di magdidiin.
Sumanang araw ng walang ipagsilba, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Ang ligaya na bangkay marami.
Ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Thank you, everyone. You may now take your seats. Isang maganda at mapagpalang umaga po sa ating lahat. We are all here for the 2025 Development Policy Research Month National Kickoff Press Conference and Media Awards. I am Jenna Red from the Philippine Information Agency National Capital Region, and I will be your host for today's program. We are now live at Seda, Vertis North in light of this morning's government work suspension. Today's event is also accessible online via Zoom. We hope everyone is staying safe and dry. A big thank you to those joining us on site. Maraming salamat po for being with us this morning despite the rainy weather. And of course, to our audience who are joining us online via Zoom on the PIDS, SIRP, and PIA Facebook pages. We would have been joined live this morning by the President of the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, or PIDS, Dr. Philip Arnold Tuanyo. However, he has an equally important duty today, which is the national budget hearing. Talaga naman napaka-importante niyan, so we understand why he can't join us right now. But while he deeply regrets not being here with us in person, Dr. Tuanyo has prepared a special video message to welcome all of you and to provide context for this year's Development Policy Research Month. Panoorin po natin ito.
Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. I would like to express my warmest greetings to our dedicated partners from the media, our fellow public servants in government, the brilliant minds from our research community, the passionate advocates from civil society, and to all friends of evidence-based policymaking, both here with us at Seda Hotel Vertis North and those joining us via live stream. It is with immense pride and profound gratitude that I welcome you to the launch of the 23rd Development Policy Research Month, or DPRM. Today we begin our month-long observance, beginning with this national press conference. Later in the program, the very first Saliksik at Balita PIDS Media Awards. Last August 20, we held the first ever North Luzon DPRM Kickoff in Baguio City. We were welcomed by our partners and participants in the Cordillera Administrative Region with incredible warmth, insight, and an openness to dialogue that truly inspired us. That event served as a powerful reminder that the crucial conversations we initiate here in the capital must resonate throughout every region of the country. And that spirit of inclusion is not just important, it's absolutely essential, especially as we take on this year's DPRM theme. Our 2025 theme, Reimagining Governance in the Age of AI, challenges us to pause and take a long and honest view at how technology, particularly artificial intelligence, is transforming our society at every level. AI is no longer a futuristic concept, it has already become an integral part of our everyday lives. From being used as a teaching tool in school, predictive algorithms in our health services, to chatbots on government portals, and the data analytics that guide public investments, AI has begun to alter how decisions are made, how resources are allocated, and how services are delivered, whether you're in Manila or Quezon, or any other community across the country. These developments bring tremendous potential in making government services faster, cutting red tape, strengthening monitoring and disaster warning systems, and helping our agencies do more with limited resources. But with these promises come serious questions that must be answered in public and not behind closed doors. What happens if algorithms carry hidden biases that deepen social and economic inequalities? What if solutions offered by machines become increasingly less understandable, making less leaders who use this information to make decisions that are less accountable? What if automation displaces workers who have no safety nets? And what if data-driven governance moves us forward without public consent, threatening privacy and trust? In short, AI is not a neutral force. It reflects the values, the priorities, and the blind spots of those who design, deploy, and regulate it. That is precisely we at the PIDS are pushing this conversation forward. AI use must be guided by sound policy, strong ethical frameworks, and most importantly, by inclusive and honest dialogue. Technology must remain a tool of good governance, never its replacement, and never its master. This morning, we are fortunate that our discussions are guided by a distinguished panel, including Dr. Adora Navarro, PIDS Senior Research Fellow, who will present our DPRM discussion paper. Atty. Krystal Lyn Uy, former Undersecretary for Legal Affairs at the Department of Economy, Planning and Development. Dr. Emmanuel Lallana, Professorial Fellow at the UP Center for Integrative and Development Studies. And Atty. Edsel Tupaz, Senior Partner at Seda Law, leading their data privacy, cybersecurity, and AI initiatives. Their collective expertise embodies the multifaceted dialogue we need. But research alone is not enough. That is why our partnership with the media is so important. Today, to our first ever PIDS Media Awards, we recognize the efforts of journalists, media organizations, and broadcast personalities who ensure that reports are backed by evidence through policy research. Every news article, every interview, every feature that carries research into public discourse is a step towards a more informed citizenry and a more accountable government. This recognition is long overdue, and we hope that it marks only the beginning of a deeper, more collaborative relationship between researchers and storytellers. As we open the 23rd DPRM, let us remember that reimagining governance is not solely the task of policymakers or technologists, it is a shared responsibility. Researchers must provide solid evidence, government must act with fairness and foresight, citizens must stay engaged and critical, and the media, you must continue to shine a light so that these conversations reach every Filipino. Technology will continue to evolve at a breathtaking pace, so our government through policies must keep pace, and so must our public dialogue. On behalf of the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, I thank you for being here, for lending your voice, and for helping us build a future where innovation serves people, not the other way around. Before we proceed with today's program, I invite everyone to watch this short video introducing this year's DPRM theme. It offers a quick look why these conversations matter and what we aim to achieve together. Maraming salamat at isang magandang umaga po sa ating lahat.
Ready.
Analyzing data.
Technology is evolving faster than governance can keep up.
So, the real question is, how do we lead in a world driven by artificial intelligence? That's the challenge at the core of this year's Development Policy Research Month. AI isn't the future. It's already here. It's changing how we work, how we learn, and how we live. But speed isn't progress. Public institutions must do more than catch up. They must lead with ethics and vision. This September, join the 2025 Development Policy Research Month as we explore these timely questions under the theme Reimagining Governance in the Age of AI.
Our theme for this year's DPRM reminds us that policy must not only be data-driven, but also future-ready. It challenges us to rethink how we govern in the age of artificial intelligence with empathy, efficiency, and equity at the core.
AI can help governments modernize through faster services, smarter systems, and better decisions. But transformation isn't just technical. It demands careful design, inclusive thinking, and sound public policy. But for governments, the goal isn't just about modernization. It's public value. AI should make governance more transparent, more accountable, more sustainable. This year's conversation zooms in on 3 urgent sectors: energy, fight against corruption, and aging societies. Each one brings complex questions and the potential for lasting change. Energy systems are under pressure, rising demand, climate goals, and reliability competing all at once. AI offers promising solutions, from grid optimization to predictive forecasting. But those very tools rely on power-intensive infrastructure, raising a new question: how do we use AI to transition to clean energy without deepening the climate crisis it is meant to solve? Corruption tactics are evolving, and so must the fight against them. Technology, once a watchdog, is now being exploited by those who seek to escape scrutiny. AI can detect patterns, flag anomalies, and assist investigators at scale. But the same technology can be used to outsmart the system. That's why AI must be built not just to expose abuse, but to earn trust, because transparency is meaningless without accountability. Like many countries, the Philippines is aging. As lifespans grow longer, the systems that support people must grow smarter. AI-powered health monitoring, assistive tech, and virtual care platforms hold promise. But they must also be accessible, affordable, and socially attuned, especially in communities with fewer digital resources. In this intelligent era, aging isn't just a healthcare concern. It's a governance imperative, one that calls for inclusive policies, digital skills training, and flexible work models.
We need to make sure the conversations we start today turn into lasting change. Policies that are inclusive, systems that are secure, and leadership that brings everyone along. The future of governance is ours to shape.
Reimagining governance in the age of AI isn't about replacing people. It's about empowering institutions to serve better for everyone. This is DPRM 2025. AI for good governance, because the future starts with policy that leads. Are you ready to be part of this conversation?
Thank Thank you very much, Dr. Tuanya, for setting the tone for this morning's program. And indeed, I think everyone here is ready to be part of the conversation when it comes to reimagining AI. And ladies and gentlemen, even though Dr. Tuanya can't be with us this morning, we are still very privileged to be in the midst of these team members of the science and technology community who will be sharing their insights with us this morning. And they also make up the scientific committee of this year's DPRM. We have with us PIDS Senior Research Fellows Dr. Chris Francisco, Dr. Aubrey Tabuga, and Dr. Adora Navarro. And I'm sure we are all very excited to hear what they have to share with us this morning. So without further ado, please allow me to introduce our first speaker for this morning. Her work spans infrastructure, energy, and regional development. She also served as Department of Economy Planning and Development or DepDev's Undersecretary for Regional Development from 2016 to 2020 to share with us the findings and recommendations of the study entitled Reimagining Governance in the Age of AI. Please help me in giving a warm welcome to Dr. Adora Navarro.
Good morning to everyone. I hope it wasn't such a hassle coming here. And I hope that you will be safe when you go back to your offices for the private sector na hindi suspended ang work. And for our colleagues in government, when you go home or kung may heroic deeds pang natitira sa office, hopefully maging maayos kayo mamaya sa pag-uwi ninyo. So this is an ongoing study. It's a background paper for the Annual Public Policy Conference 2025 that is always a part of the celebration of the Development Policy Research Month that the PIDS leads every September. And kasi we always endeavor to be a sort of trendsetter when it comes to issues that are of interest to the citizenry, to the government, the private sector. Like when we first started when we first launched the APPC, the topic that we helped trend was the fourth industrial revolution. So now we hope to ignite discussions on artificial intelligence, and what better way to introduce it to the public than reimagining governance, with the help of AI, especially given yung mga issues of the day, the flood control and corruption investigation, for example. Okay, so reimagining governance in the age of AI. Next slide, please. So we know that AI, data analytics, and digital platforms are becoming integrated in government systems, and that provides a dual opportunity to have better services and to leverage this technology for us to have a more resilient future by addressing crucial issues that can help build a more resilient future. And we, in our use of AI in government systems, we aim to generate public value in terms of efficiency, transparency, and sustainability. So efficiency gains can be harnessed through streamlined processes, for example, transparency through less corruption, and enhanced accountability. And this requires effective and timely government strategies. Now, next slide. Historically, it is the private sector that, next slide please, it's the private sector that leads the adoption of technological advances. The governments are pressured to match the efficiency and transparency of the private sector. And at the same time, the government must governments must intensify their efforts to provide digital public infrastructure and digital public goods, to ensure wider participation in the adoption of AI. And AI also brings new types of threats capable of hindering essential government operations and capable of putting citizen safety at risk. So the government must provide necessary defense against these threats. How? Through policies and regulations. Now, several critical factors will also influence governance in the age of AI, and those are digital inclusion and equity, institutional capacity building, no, in terms of having adept manpower, nandiyan yung tamang skilled workforce, and the necessary digital infrastructure in the public sector. Data governance, this means, establishing frameworks and guidelines for ethical data use, very much concern of our friends from the media. Privacy protection, concern ng ordinary Juan, no, and digital security, especially given yung proliferation of scams. No. And also, another critical factor ay public-private collaboration. Why? Because we need multi-stakeholder partnerships, no, to accelerate the adoption and innovation in governance, and also to manage the resulting challenges across industries. Okay, next slide. Now, for the ongoing research that we are doing for the APPC 2025 theme, we are focusing on 3 sub-themes: energy issues, that's being handled by Dr. Chris Francisco, and AI augmented fight against corruption. So that's my topic, and I'm, glad that nauna tong itong formulation namin of the theme before pumutok yung mga issues on corruption and flood control. And I'm glad that timing yung aming topic for this APPC. And then lastly, governing aging societies, which is being handled by Dr. Aubrey Tabuga. Okay. On next slide, on energy issues and AI. We know that AI has the capability to revolutionize the way energy is produced, managed, and consumed. No? AI can be utilized to improve energy efficiency across households, businesses, and industries. And then advanced machine learning techniques and data analytics can help improve forecasting, coordination, and flexibility in power supply. And can also enhance repetitive or preventive maintenance processes. No? And AI can also be leveraged to expand the power sector by ramping up energy deployment from what's called intermittent sources, no, like solar, wind, no, and in the future, for the Philippines, yung tidal wave. And at the same time, AI increases energy demand, no? And that's unfortunate. While AI brings in tremendous benefits, it comes with this huge challenge of large consumption of energy, larger than what traditional digital services consume. And in fact, there's this forecast that electricity demand from data centers is projected to rise from 1% of global energy demand, sa ngayon 1% lang, to more than 3% by 2030. Now the key questions that we hope to ignite in the discussion, not only this year but in the coming years, are this: what are the potential solutions to create that balance between AI's advantages and energy needs? What are the necessary regulatory and policy enablers? And what are examples of regulatory challenges that could hinder technological adoption? And then what are the current practices related to governance and energy sector? Now on sub-theme 2, next slide please, AI augmented fight against corruption. Okay, so I'm sure you're familiar with corruption tools in scamming. So yun yung what's more familiar with the ordinary citizens, and also in yung news about mga bank bank related or banking related scams, no? Kasi the tools of corrupt actors are increasingly becoming more sophisticated in terms of volume. So billions of dollars ang involved sometimes, complexity and speed, no? Therefore, integrity actors should keep pace with technological developments and maximize the opportunities for reaping what we call integrity dividends. What are these? These are avoided cost and productivity gains due to elimination or lessening of corruption and due to more transparency and greater efficiency. So the prerequisites are and you can very well relate to this, digitalization. So we still have a large digital divide in the country, infrastructure, ICT connectivity issues, and reforms in processes and in policies. So the key questions that we hope that we hope that the public would consider in future discussions are: what are the key technological developments in the anti-corruption space? And in answering this question, we will be helped by international experts that the PIDS invited to give insights on what's happening globally, what are the advanced technologies used in chasing the corrupt, And then in the broad range of tools of the integrity actors naman, those who chase the corrupt, what is hype and what is useful at present. And more relevant to the Philippines, what is affordable? Kasi baka very costly yung technologies. And then lastly, what are the prerequisites for developing countries, including the Philippines, for taking advantage of these technologies to combat and prevent corruption? Next slide. Okay. So these are the corruption types and impacts that are being discussed in the literature. Procurement fraud, illicit enrichment, political bribery, and service delivery abuse. And some of this I have personally witnessed during my experience as Undersecretary for Regional Development in charge of a National Project Monitoring Committee, especially yung service delivery, in cases na there are contract variations for infrastructure projects, just seeing those on paper, on record, will give you an idea na baka may corruption involved, kaya repetitive na merong variation orders. But of course, given AI tools, those can be quickly analyzed, and red flags can be generated. AI technologies being used: machine learning, NLP, natural language processing, and anomaly detection. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time. And then rationale for AI leverage, AI adds scale, speed, and precision to oversight functions sa ating integrity actors na ombudsman, COA, and the court. And let me provide you some examples. Next slide. Brazil is an early adopter of AI. Next slide, please. And they, during the early years, they have this, and ngayon tinutuloy-tuloy what they call as artificial ladies. Next slide, please. Artificial ladies against corruption. So I really like that, matatapang na kababaihan. Artificial ladies against corruption, kasi the names that they gave to the AI tools are, Alice, Adele, Monica, and Sophia. So Alice accesses government e-procurement system. Meron din tayo, we have field checks, and collects files and data of bidding processes, then tests typologies para ma-generate ng red flags. Adele displays information about competition in a particular bidding session. So more detailed, for a particular bidding session. Then Monica shows what may have been missed, and Sophia works as an automatic auditor assistant. So they work together, to generate context awareness, learning, and support for humans who are analyzing this. Okay, next slide. The prevention strategies by integrity actors are this. So I'm showing you here what can be done in various stages of the fight against corruption. So first stage, prevention. Second stage, capture and prosecution. And then last stage, kasi dapat may feedback, strengthening systems and institutions. So in the prevention stage, there can be AI that supports risk scoring systems and then flag potentially corrupt practices. And then there can be predictive analysis, no, or analytics to map what are the corruption-prone transactions, no? And then there can be application of NLP or large language process or programming to analyze financial disclosures, very helpful to our banking community. And then in the next stage, kapag nahuli na, so during capture and prosecution of the corrupt actors, no, AI-powered forensic tools can be used. And then for asset recovery, use of machine learning in cross-border recovery. And use also of algorithms to detect procurement cartels. And I believe our Philippine Competition Commission, I'm not sure if we have a representative here, I've read it in Business World, they're looking into using AI to detect cartels or anti-competitive behavior. And then lastly, real-time monitoring of bank transactions na ginagawa na rin naman ngayon. Sometimes when you have more than 500,000 transaction na flag kayo by the AMLAC, Anti-Money Laundering Council. Okay, next slide. So there should be a feedback loop. What we learn should be used to strengthen systems and institutions, and we can use AI for that. AI can audit entire government systems at scale. Now, you can probably imagine how can we do that in the Philippines if not everyone in government are still employing digital recording systems, digital auditing systems. No? And then digital assistants and chatbots can reduce human discretion in the frontline services. So wala na sanang fixer. No? And then blockchain and AI integration to promote transparency and tamper-proof contracting. Then feedback loops again. Okay, next slide. What are the challenges for developing countries like the Philippines? No? Data availability, quality, and interoperability. Wala pa tayo yung foundations. So foundation, I think si Atty. Krystal will talk about foundational prerequisites. So we're setting this trend, na we discuss AI, but we lack foundational prerequisites. But we must start discussing. No? And then technical capacity is also often lacking. We need skilled manpower, not only infrastructure. And then risk of algorithmic bias, na pwedeng gawin din ng corrupt actors themselves. And then legal frameworks, Atty. Tupaz, legal frameworks are not yet adapted to regulate or guide ethical use. And then there are political economy factors. But the corrupt actors are also trying to learn AI so that they might resist or even co-opt the AI tools that are being used by the government. Now, for sub-theme 3, the ongoing research is on aging. Next slide. Aging global societies. That's the demographic shift is happening globally, but there are opportunities by leveraging AI. We can manage healthy aging, provide for elderly care, and ensure that there's inclusion through, for example, AI-assisted geriatric technologies. But there are also governance challenges, digital divide, the cost of those technologies, and ethics. And there needs to be lifelong skills, flexible work, and AI-assisted care. So in the discussion, we hope to trigger discussions on these questions. While AI technologies appear promising, how can we better understand the outcomes? And the technologies are costly and beyond the reach of developing economies like the Philippines. Is that valid? And then the governing aging societies require significant resources. How can we better integrate this in our development objectives in the current PDP and in the future PDP or Philippine Development Plan? And then next slide. And then in the ensuing discussion, we also hope to gather or promote your interest in these cross-cutting issues: digital inclusion and equity, institutional capacity, ethical data governance, and public-private collaboration, and how to align this with development objectives. Okay, next slide, and that's my last slide. And at the end, not only of the annual public policy conference, but also, the end of our discussion during the Development Policy Research Month, we hope that tayo lahat, we could identify actionable policy recommendations, promote governance innovations, foster collaborations, and enhance adaptive and inclusive governance toward building resilience for the Philippines in the age of AI. Maraming salamat at pasensya. Lumampas ako sa time allotment.
Thank you very much, Dr. Navarro, for sharing with us those very timely insights and findings and recommendations, especially when it comes to the relevance of AI in fighting and preventing corruption. So maraming salamat po. And building on Dr. Navarro's policy insights, we will now hear from someone who has been at the forefront of digital transformation and futures thinking. Our next speaker is a professorial fellow and convener of the Critical Futures Program at the University of the Philippines Center for Integrative and Development Studies, and will take us on a forward-looking journey as he shares his insights on the future of governance in the age of AI. Let's give a warm round of applause to Dr. Emmanuel Lallana.
Thank you, and good morning. Can I have the slides, please? Right. Let me go to the point. Simply integrating AI into existing governance structures and processes is not enough. Using AI, we must use AI to deepen democracy. That is the ultimate goal, or that should be the ultimate goal. As we've seen as we've heard from the previous speaker, AI is a technology that it's used in government. And these technologies includes data analytics and decision support, automation of routine tasks, cybersecurity and fraud detection, public service and citizen engagement, law enforcement, and national security. And the goal from the mainstream about the use of AI in governance is to develop smart infrastructure, personalized public services, AI-augmented workforce, stronger regulatory frameworks. But that is not nearly enough. I think what the mainstream would do at best is to have a very good, efficient bureaucracy, which is not necessarily bad because it is good that flood control actually controls floods, and that corruption is stemmed and does not become pervasive, and healthcare is delivered more efficiently. However, a strong bureaucracy does not necessarily mean democracy. In fact, autocracy benefits from technologies because they make bureaucracies more effective. So for instance, I think the exemplar case of this is China. China has a very strong state-led AI development strategy. And recently they received they just released their AI Plus national strategy. And the ultimate goal of that strategy is that in 12 years, 2037, China will be a fully AI-driven society. Now, even if they don't achieve that in 2037, I think you could just imagine the ambition and the scale. And if they reach only half of that, they'll be way ahead of a lot of people. But that doesn't mean that in 2037, China will be a democracy. AI also threatens democracy. And this is from a journal of democracy. In three ways. It interferes with democratic representation, undermines democratic accountability, and corrodes social and political trust. So the foundation of democracy is an informed citizenry who are able to make good decisions about the collective futures. Unfortunately, AI threatens that, right? AI enhances misinformation. And AI allows for the manipulation of public opinion. So what do we do? How can we move the agenda of democracy and AI forward? I suggest that there are three things that we need to do. First is to address the digital infrastructure deficit, promote AI literacy, and consider participatory AI. We now have most of our social interactions now are through digital platforms, right? If you're not in Facebook, something is wrong with you. Some of us are in LinkedIn, and you could imagine all sorts of digital platforms that has become, for most of us, the primary way that we consume information, that we communicate and collaborate with others. The problem with that is that these digital platforms are all privately owned, and that the primary purpose of this interaction is profit. Nothing wrong with that. But the issue here, for instance, Facebook is not free. You pay with your data. And they use your data for advertising and a whole host of other things. I guess the analogy here is that most Filipinos go to SM instead of parks. But what is wonderful about parks is that they allow you public expression. Right? So in the Philippines, we have Freedom Park. In the UK, we have Hyde Park. Can you imagine staging a lightning rally in SM food court? Right? That's simply not allowed. And then if you do that, you will not be able to get away because the mall will simply close the doors and you will be trapped. So there are challenges when the digital infrastructure to which you access AI is owned by the private sector. So the idea is we have to have digital public infrastructures that will enable us to engage in public and civic life in digital spaces with norms and affordances designed around civic values. Right? So there's a big difference between social media and the internet. The internet is structured such that anybody can engage in internet, whereas social media is a more closed platform that limits what you can do. The second issue is AI literacy. You may have physical access to the internet and through AI, but once you're there and you don't know what to do with it, then we have a problem, right? So AI literacy, I think what is the most important part of AI literacy is not just learning the technical skills. It is critically evaluating what to do with AI and how to use it. So, given AI as not just technical skills, AI literacy can empower citizens by enabling them to understand, critically evaluate, and responsibly use AI technologies, fostering civic agency, and enabling them to participate in and shape an AI-influenced society. So I have two things related to participation. One is access through digital public infrastructures. Another one is through AI literacy, empowering citizens to use the digital infrastructures, including AI. The third is a bit more difficult, and this is called participatory AI. How do you align societal values with AI tools that are being developed? Let the citizens participate in the development of those tools. So participatory approaches are essential to understanding and adequately representing needs, desires, and perspectives of historically marginalized community. For instance, we are now dealing with AI and nobody asks us permission if we're going to use them, right? The banks just put, when you call the helpline, you get to a chatbot, not very effective, but that's where they dump you. And then we are helpless about this because first we did not design the system, and second, nobody consulted us about deployment. So involving diverse stakeholders in the development, deployment, and governance of AI systems, those are three different things, right? Develop, deploy, and govern. Ensures that technology aligns with societal values and benefits. But there's a high barrier to entry to this, which means you have to understand AI. And that is why the second point, AI literacy, is very important. We have to adopt a national standard on AI literacy, which fortunately the ICT is already in the process of doing, because that is important. It's like you cannot participate in modern society effectively without learning how to read and write and compute, right? Or do maths. The same is true with an AI. So what does a participatory AI look like? I don't have time anymore to go through this. There has to be repository, reflexivity, and empowerment. So, finally, what we need to do is to get people involved in designing, deploying, and governing artificial intelligence. AI can be democracy's allies, but not if it works for big tech. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lallana, and thank you for raising very important points when it comes to AI, democracy, AI and digital platforms, and AI and literacy. And I hope we can discuss more of that during the Q&A later on. Now, earlier this year, the DepDev released its first policy on artificial intelligence, and our next speaker was at the helm of the team that made it happen. Our next speaker specializes in digital and competition law and previously served as Undersecretary for Legal Affairs at the DepDev and teaches competition law at the University of the Philippines. To share with us her insights on building a coherent and coordinated AI policy framework, please welcome Attorney Krystal Lyn Uy.
So good morning, everyone. I'm here to discuss basically the AI policy note that was released by the Department of Economy, Planning and Development. I think this was last year when I was still with DepDev. So let me start, but the slides are not yet available. So you can just have a sip of coffee or water while we're waiting for the technical team. I thought we're already AI. We're talking about AI. So anyway, the reason why everybody's talking about AI is that AI has demonstrated immense promising capabilities that driving productivity and innovation across various domains. So the OECD actually has highlighted AI's potential to improve welfare and well-being, contribute to sustainable economic activities, and even address global challenges such as healthcare, climate change, and cybersecurity. You have many reports that will tell you about how much it can drive efficiency, the investments that it will bring, and there was actually a report by MIT that generative AI has the potential to accelerate economic growth more rapidly than the previous general purpose technologies. And this is largely due to its accessibility and ease of use. So this rapid advancement mirrors the trajectory of other general purpose technologies, but AI's ability to foster innovation by improving existing processes and enabling the creation of entirely new products and services makes it a driving force across industries. So, okay, wala pa rin. You can just download, if you have your mobile phones with you, you can just download the NEDA's AI policy note and you can go through it at the same time with me. Basically, the first part of the note talks about overview and the frameworks for understanding AI. And there's really no it's not a common definition that you will find in many different instruments, but basically at its core, AI is technology that enables machines to stimulate human-like capabilities such as learning, problem-solving, decision-making, creativity, and autonomy. For those that have already deployed AI in your work or in your personal tasks, you will know that this is really a breaking technology that can improve how we execute day-to-day operations and tasks. So in recent years, okay, so just to clarify, we've had AI even before, right? Those technologies that allows, for example, behavioral algorithm to give you personalized ad recommendations whenever you open your social media platforms. That's a form of AI. But in recent years, generative AI systems that are powered by large language models can now independently create content such as texts, images, videos, and even music. And they have become more prominent. So you have ChatGPT, which exemplifies the capabilities of generative AI, producing human-like text responses based on natural language prompt. And this versatility has broadened AI's application across sectors. So I'm not gonna go into all of these. Just to mention, currently, all over the world, I think everyone is scrambling towards how do you actually regulate or not regulate AI. So what do we do with this technology that is spreading all across everything that humans do? And the United States, back in Biden's administration, released an executive order on the safe, secure, and trustworthy development and use of AI. But this was repealed in January 2025 when the new administration came in, and it was replaced by America's AI Action Plan. So the previous EO has a broader objective, which is about privacy protection, advancing equity and civil rights, protecting consumers, patients and students, workers, innovation and competition. Currently, the America's AI Action Plan is is to maintain the United States' global leadership in AI, and all the tasks there, the plans there, is geared towards this one goal. So, for example, the AI Action Plan actually talks about how AI is far too important to smother in bureaucracy, whether at state or federal level, and it should not interfere with how the innovation for this technology should progress in that country. So the EU, on the other hand, passed the first one that has passed an AI legislation. So the main objective of this act is to make sure that AI systems that are used in the European Union are safe, transparent, traceable, non-discriminatory, and environmentally friendly. And the way they did it is to have a risk-based approach. So they classified the use of AI in certain risks. So for example, if it's an unacceptable risk, for example, AI is being used for behavioral manipulation, social scoring, or even profiling for criminal activity, then it's an unacceptable risk and is prohibited in the EU. But there are other acceptable applications of AI, but it's, for example, if it's classified as high risk, like critical infrastructure, access to employment, education, then it has more obligations to those that have deployed and developed the system. And then you have limited risk as well as minimal risk. The ASEAN Guide on AI Governance and Ethics talks about general principles for the use of AI, and it closely mirrors the OECD's AI principles as well as the UNESCO AI principles. And I think many of the current draft of policies that we have in the Philippines right now are also informed by this this body of principles that you have all over, that you have internationally. So this is just like where our neighbors are at. So most of the countries that you have here would already have a national AI strategy. And I think South Korea just recently this year also passed an artificial intelligence law. So these are the AI policies that you have in the Philippines. So DTI has a national AI strategy roadmap 2.0. This is to upskill the workforce, boost R&D, and drive economic growth. You also have a draft memo from the DICT and CSC on the principles and guidelines for how government use ethical and trustworthy AI. Very recently, this happened last year, so the National AI Strategy for the Philippines are being formed, and it's taking place in the National Innovation Council because the President has greenlit the creation of an AI think tank that is led now by the DOST. So the National AI Strategy is a plan for AI integration, and the focus areas would be the infrastructure, workforce, innovation, data governance, and policy and AI development. So we know the positive benefits of AI, and you have many different use cases that we outlined in the policy note, spanning from the labor market, from the education sector, health, finance, agriculture sectors. And now I'll go briefly to the risks of AI. So first, you also obviously have cybersecurity and data privacy issues that has arisen because of AI. You also have issues that have already been mentioned, disinformation, you have cybercrime amplification, okay? And there may be regulatory gaps where existing laws do not adequately address AI-enabled ethical breaches. You also have intellectual property issues as well as antitrust issues that are arising because of AI as well. So for example, what Dr. Adora said a while ago on algorithmic pricing and competition, actually this has been an ongoing issue or study discussion in the competition law world. I think even way back in 2017, 2018, even without the generative AI that has come into play right now. Labor market disruption, so it threatens certain roles. It can cause job displacement, and there's also a skills gap here where you need to transition to AI-driven roles, and these requires new skills, and it affects current workers with their current skill set, and it can widen inequalities. There's also an issue on environmental sustainability and resource consumption. So let me go to the barriers of AI advancement in the Philippines. So these are some of the things that we've identified. The first one is insufficient digital infrastructure. This hinders the deployment of AI, particularly in rural areas. You also have the human capital and digital skills gap. It limits workforce readiness, affecting productivity and innovation. Data availability and governance issues. So we have limited digitalization of data. Before you can use AI, you need a lot of data. And if you don't have, and data, even government data, is still collected and stored in non-digital formats, making it difficult to access, process, and integrate into AI systems. And it's also, the sources of the data are also very fragmented. And there are also issues on data quality. So that's one of the major barriers on AI advancement. Ethics and accountability, so there's ambiguity in accountability in AI use that actually discourage adoption and innovation, and of course, energy constraints. So the foundational priorities for AI policies that's in our recommendation is that we need to set clear directions for AI as a country. We need to coordinate the currently fragmented AI initiatives under a coherent national strategy. So this is already being done at the NIC level, and the NAIS Philippines will soon be put into place for implementation. We need to expand digital infrastructure to ensure that there is connectivity in all parts of the country so that we can actually really use the technology and make it flourish. We need to strengthen data governance. So we talked about how there's limited digitalization across government and also even the private sector. We can't really use or reuse data, so data sharing is really limited. And so we need to improve on that. And the last most important recommendation that we have is we need to develop human capital. And I think this was previously discussed, but one of the things that we must remember is that we need to ensure that we are solid on the foundational education, and then we go into digital literacy, but at the same time, aside from digital literacy, we have to improve on data literacy and then eventually AI literacy. So that ends my very quick presentation. I hope you all would read the policy note in its entirety. Thank you.
Maraming salamat, Atty. Uy, and thank you very much for broadening our perspectives when it comes to governing principles and regulations for AI. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point of our program, we will now hear from someone who has been at the cutting edge of law and technology for over 2 decades. He is a senior partner at the Seda Law, leads their AI and cybersecurity practice, and even trained with the Alan Turing Institute on AI and the Sustainable Development Goals. To discuss the legal and ethical implications of AI on privacy, cybersecurity, and policymaking, let us all welcome Attorney Anthony Edsel Tupaz.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here. I readily accepted the invitation to speak. I hope I can compress everything within 10 minutes, more or less. My presentation is comprised of 18 slides. Some of them will be very quick. I hope many of them will produce certain insights, complement much of our work today. Just a little about myself, real quick. I hold certain credentials on AI governance, so I'm one of the few AI governance professionals in the country. I was a member of the Philippine team, which was selected as a challenger for the Alan Turing Institute's data challenge that was in 2023-2024. And this project focused on sustainable development and computational science. I dwell on data privacy, cybersecurity, and AI initiatives at our firm. I appear on Data Protection Leader. I also dwell a lot on financial technology. So the slides that follow contain these 4 big points. I'd like to settle first on the first, the Philippine global standing. Some of this will overlap with the prior points that we made. The second in the second part of the talk, I'd like to introduce a question, and I guess it's a call to action as well. The question is, given the widening AI divide, which I think is happening quite rapidly, right, where you have the global south and the north on advanced AI societies and low-scoring AI countries, how can countries like the Philippines govern AI risks and harms that are inbound? So the answer there would be some form of AI governance. And maybe part of the answer would be, or the question would be, how can that AI governance framework look like for us to be able to manage inbound advanced AI risks and harms? So I approach that under supply chain analysis using a development lens. Incidentally, I used to teach international development law in Boston, so I incorporate some of these policies and laws and toolkits in our presentation. The third would be foundational principles of AI governance. A lot of that is secondary and I think easily searchable, but it's just a review. And the fourth aspect in the talk today would be to put forth certain claims, a position maybe, a hypothesis, how to address AI-enabled risks, threats, and harms through legal, regulatory, and governance frameworks. I take a bit of it, I'm not sure if it's a mainstream view, but it's probably a bit of a minority view. But I see certain authors have already taken that position. And the position is this. In the short term, it is my position that there are sufficient and existing legal frameworks that could capacitate Philippine actors in managing AI risks and harms that come from advanced societies. We do have these legal frameworks. There is no need to wait for an overarching EU AI Act type of law for us to act and act quickly. But in the medium term and the long term, perhaps we can consider some sort of comprehensive approach. At the same time, this short-term view in managing AI risks and harms does not discount, does not negate any effort, which I think it's quite crucial, to arrive at some sort of comprehensive and uniform framework. Thank you. So where are we? I looked this up last night. This is the Incidents and Hazards Monitor published by the OECD, quite good. And you'll see there a 6-month moving average. So this is, according to OECD's monitoring database, trying to size up the totality of global AI risks and harms. Everything from disinformation, misinformation to, adversarial attacks upon critical infrastructure to, little, well, not little, but micro events such as, let's say, scams, phishing events. Some involve physical harm, like, let's say, automated vehicles running into an accident, things like that. So the totality of AI risks and harms globally. And we see here an uptick, and I hope societies around the world would be able to exert controls and security measures for this to sort of be managed and mitigated. But it seems that since November, December, there has been a rise, and the 6-month moving average has been adjusted upward. All right. So the question is, will actors win the arms race, so to speak? Right. It's an arms race between governance of actors and versus malicious actors who apply risks and harms. So this is one of the more popular indices. It is not the only one, but this is an AI development index by Turquoise Media. It's a consortium. It's not widely adapted yet, but it's one of the competing indicators. But it's interesting because there are pillars and sub-pillars being used to gauge AI development in a particular country. So the Philippines here ranks, I believe, 67 out of 88, right? And we'll talk about that later. And you'll see there in the lower left part of the curve. And interestingly, the Philippines has one of the biggest markets in the world. In a few years, we will be one of the biggest economies, right? So the question is, how can we raise overall AI development according to our market power? Right? So interesting fact. Now, I mentioned the 67th out of, 83, right? We are slightly above Rwanda, and we are lower than Slovakia. Now, if you've been to Slovakia, it's a great place, all right? So don't feel so bad. Rwanda is post-conflict, but if you check their digital strategies, they're going about it in a very smart way. And I think because of their initiatives, I think that has an upward pressure towards their rankings. But I think we are batting lower than our weight. I think we could do a lot better if we are to take this index as something that's credible. So the question is, given, and I'm going to even take the more aggressive posture that the regulatory divide, the AI divide is widening, I think, at least in the short term. The question would then be, how can low-scoring countries that's similarly situated like the Philippines manage and govern advanced AI-related risks and harms that come from advanced AI systems, right? So that's the question that I'd like to raise. This just more about the development index. These are just some of the pillars from implementation, innovation, investment. Nothing really new there, but it's basically publish the pillars and the sub-pillars. And these are mapped by pillar. If you look at the Philippines, we actually score good in the operating environment, even more than Taiwan, right? And then you have their South Africa, and of course the States is the number one criteria, meaning everything is, they use the baseline of 1, and they use it to gauge everybody else. So going back to the question, how can AI actors in the Philippines govern advanced AI risks and harms? I'm tempted to answer it solely through legal frameworks, but I'm afraid it's not just legal frameworks. I'm also tempted to answer it solely as a data privacy or a cybersecurity lawyer, but unfortunately it's not just data privacy and cybersecurity. There are a number of other risks and harms, and I think many of us today appreciate the fact that AI is multidisciplinary, cross-domain, and cross-functional. So the best way, I think, to approach AI risks and harms is something across the board at the same time. So this is the thesis. The Philippines offers a large market attractive to AI providers located elsewhere. All right? So advanced economies love us. They like selling stuff to us, right? But unfortunately, the Philippines is at the tail end of the global AI supply chain, right? So we are not privy to planning, designing, development. We are privy to some deployment and definitely importation, distribution, and being the end user, all right? That's actually not a bad thing, even if I use the word unfortunate, because back then, in data-driven initiatives, the EU was in a similar place. And the EU used their market clout to reverse regulate and what we call exert long-arm jurisdiction and regulate exporters of data-driven initiatives. All right, so in global AI supply chains, we are usually at the end user importer. If we remain to be a low-scoring jurisdiction, then there will be bargain asymmetries, right? Nothing new. It's pretty much a general observation, and so these asymmetries may have or may exacerbate risks and harms that are inbound. All right, and thus I think the posture there should be actors within the Philippines, organizations, companies, firms, ought to consider recasting our role as an active governance actor. Not passive, not waiting for some large solution, but an active governance actor who can better assert agency in the name of AI safety. All right, so that's my proposed posture. If you look at the AI risks and harms, some of them are quite deep, and some of them are grand and macro. I would love to talk about deep fakes, disinformation, misinformation, but I'd want to blow up the picture and turn to more of the macro, large societal divides, such as loss of data autonomy, right? Adhesion contracts, meaning it's a one-way contract. Technological lock-in, high switching costs, right? Jurisdiction of convenience. What does this mean? AI providers would purposely shop for jurisdictions to play test their platform so that they will not be faced with very stringent controls or laws because they cannot play test it in their home country, right? One-way tech transfer. What does this mean? The danger here is that your data, your indigenous data, will be shipped and exported abroad, trained and retrained, patented, protected, and then returns may arise out of that protected intangible asset, whereas the originator of that data will not share in the profits. Trade, we've seen the trade issues. If large countries fight each other, the low-scoring countries will be collateral damage. And of course, the risk in AI talent, right? Brain drain. Well, we're about to wrap up, don't worry. So just give me a few seconds here, a few minutes here. So these are just some of the existing principles. I think OECD is usually the first mover. And many frameworks from the NIST to ISO still adapt and are shaped actively by OECD frameworks, such as the AI classification framework and also the OECD AI principles. We have a number of standards, and I think many of these standards are valid and effective, from ISO 42001, 42005 for AI impact assessment, which was released a couple of months ago, and even other frameworks like older frameworks that govern cybersecurity. A number of NPC guidances, rules, prescriptive rules, non-prescriptive rules, but the concern here is that the National Privacy Commission can only govern data processes that implicate personal information. So for AI systems that do not touch personal information, we have to go elsewhere and not the National Privacy Commission. Some of these frameworks are interesting. Sentiment analysis, audit, cybersecurity audit, advisories on COA using the audit process, Gen AI being used in government correspondence. The answer is yes, you can do that. Call analysis, sentiment analysis, which incidentally is a high risk activity under the EU AI Act, but it is allowed here. So this is the final slide, and I'd like to end with some steps here. So I'd like to answer my own question about how to govern advanced AI risk and harms coming from high-scoring countries. And this is a multi-step approach, which is, in a sense, it's a whole of organization or a whole of society approach, but in your organization should be a whole of organization approach. The first step is to align the organization with sectoral rules. For instance, if your organization is a bank, then you ought to align with domain-specific, sector-specific rules, and there are rules on cybersecurity and AI-related harm. Training, oversight, and accountability. So build internal capacity through training and awareness, and also locate accountability among the owners of AI processes within your organization. The next would be to optimize policies and processes. In other words, this is really the norm of continuous improvement under ISO standards. Audits and regular assessment. Conduct what we call AI impact assessments in addition to your privacy impact assessment. You can deploy AI governance and risk management systems such as ISO and NIST. Cybersecurity testing, the key term there is red teaming. You take on an adversarial lens in testing your systems to see if they can be robust and withstand potential adversarial attack. And last but not least, if your AI systems process personal information, then you can turn to the NPC for guidance, and there's a lot there. Thank you very much. I look forward to your Q&A and forum.
Thank you, Attorney Tupaz, and we highly appreciate your valuable insights on governance implications and policy making for AI. Ladies and gentlemen, we have heard from all of our speakers today, and I know you're very eager to ask them your questions. But before we proceed, we would just like to announce that earlier this morning at exactly 10 a.m., all local government units or LGUs in Metro Manila simultaneously posted the DPRM banner on their official Facebook page in support of the DPRM celebration. So with that, let's give them a big round of applause as they help us to make this conversation go live and online and reach even more Filipinos. So our information officers across Metro Manila, they are collectively known as the AIM, or the Association of Information Officers in Metro Manila. So maraming salamat po to our dear AIM members for helping us spread the word about the DPRM. So again, to those watching online via Facebook live stream and our on-site media friends and partners today, thank you all very much for joining us this morning. And at this point, I would like to request all our speakers to please join us here in front so we could start our Q&A this morning. I think our friends from Seda will help us set up the chairs on stage so our speakers can sit comfortably as they answer the questions from our media partners and friends. So our media partners and friends, our mic is here in front. You may now line up so we can converse with you and answer your questions about AI this morning. Kindly state your name and the organization you are affiliated with. You can ask one question and we will allow one follow-up question. Again, for our media friends and partners, you can start lining up here in front so we can accommodate your questions for our experts this morning. So again, joining us this morning's open forum, we have with us Dr. Navarro, Chris Francisco, Dr. Lallana, and attorneys Tupaz and Uy. And again, for those watching us live And online, especially our online friends who are tuned in right now, you can type in your questions, and we will be very happy to relay those questions to our experts this morning so they can be answered. All right, I guess all of our experts are now here in front. And just to start the conversation, I have a question for Dr. Navarro. Yes, ma'am. Ang buena mano po na tanong ay para sa inyo. It's a matter of, it's about the presentation you shared with us earlier. How can we ensure that AI-driven governance policies remain inclusive, especially that you've mentioned that we still have a digital divide that we need to, to close the gap here in the country. How can we ensure that we don't leave behind the vulnerable communities, such as those in far-flung areas with limited connection?
Hello. Yeah, I think we better take advantage of what's affordable at the moment and what's open or free. No? And also ensure that our partners, the integrity actors, not only in government but also in the private sector, including the media, ensure that they really help in promoting wider adoption of AI and ensuring that we use this for better governance, for good governance. No? Especially, I would like to address the media actors here. No? Kasi you also uphold your own integrity standards, and you are users of openly accessible AI tools, and you have the power to ensure that these are not used to manipulate narratives, and also to ensure that the citizenry are being helped in AI literacy. It's a very important concept that was introduced or discussed earlier by Professor Lallana. And another thing is that it's promising that we heard from Attorney Edsel that our current legal framework already provides not yet sufficient, but something that we can do at the moment, protection for the citizenry in the use of AI. So I imagine our existing rules on data privacy, the AMLAC law, and the National Privacy Commission circulars. So it's promising. Let's be optimistic.
All right, thank you very much for that insight, Dr. Navarro. Do we have questions from our media partners? Yes, ma'am, you can proceed to the mic on the right side of our venue. Kindly state your name, the organization you are affiliated with, and kindly share with us your question for our experts this morning.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dixie from Filipinas Online. What is your insight to the idea of AI replacing our senators and congressmen? Will it stop corruption? Thank you.
That is a very interesting question. All right, I think Dr. Navarro will be the first one to share her insights.
That's a drastic measure. Oh my gosh. And would the citizens be able to distinguish between AI-generated senators or genuinely elected senators? I think that's a drastic measure, and we can imagine what would happen, and I'm sure that the conclusion is not a desirable scenario, no? Because AI is here to support humans, no? What we call the intelligent age or the age of AI is really an interaction between AI tools, digital tools, and humans, no? So AI is not meant to replace humans.
I think Dr. Lallana also has something to share with us.
Yes, I do subscribe to the view that AI should augment and not replace human beings. be it in governance, be it in education, and in most other areas of social life. Second, in terms of, we have to understand that AI also makes mistakes. In fact, there's such a thing as AI hallucination, which they say is not is a feature of large language models, which is to say, given that the dominant form of AI that we're using today are LLMs, solving the hallucination problem is going to be very difficult. And I think that the other point that I wish to make is that the OECD recently released an AI capability report where they said they tried to measure AI's capabilities relative to humans. So it's a report that measures about 5 or 6 dimensions, including language, reasoning, knowledge in general. And in a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is the lowest and 5 is that AI is equivalent to humans, we are on average at 2.5. A lot of 2s and a few areas where we are 3s. So we're a long ways off from there. And in fact, the debate right now in the AI field is whether we're going to be able to reach general artificial intelligence. And I personally subscribe to the view that we're not going to do that using existing LLM models. So that remember that ChatGPT 5.0 promised to provide you with PhD level assistance. And that flopped miserably. It was nowhere near PhD level unless they got their degree from Recto. And so it's not going to happen even if you wish for senators to be replaced by AI. It's not going to happen anytime soon.
All right, I think, would that be the same for journalists? Because I know we have media partners here in France. And in other countries, journalists are slowly, in some organizations, some journalists are slowly being replaced by, or binabawasan po yung force, yung human force of the organization.
Well, certainly there will be job displacement. The value add is the analysis. If you just report facts, then AI might be better than you. The analysis is the important part, and that's what AI cannot replace right now.
All right, so I think may assurance naman for our senators who will not be replaced by AI anytime soon. All right, we have a second question from our media friends and partners. Kindly state your name, ma'am, and the organization you're affiliated with.
Good morning po. I'm Beatrice Cruz from Business World. I just wanted to clarify because in a PIDS study before, it was mentioned that 14.9% of Philippine businesses are using AI technologies as of 2021. So I just wanted to know if there's an updated figure for that and at what stage is the country now in terms of its AI adoption push?
Okay. You are referring to the study of Dr. I mean Dr. Chris Francisco, part of the APPC Scientific Committee with Dr. Adora. Good morning. You are referring to the study of Dr. Francis Kimba, is that correct? Yeah, so I don't think there's an updated version because the reason why the data was 2021 is because our data is usually late by 2 to 3 years. So, So, in terms of update, we do not have update, but after this event on September 18 and before the year ends, we will be releasing some new insights, summary of insights from AI-related topics, but the focus will not be on businesses, I think. So, yeah.
Sorry. Can I add to that? We can look at it from another dimension, right? The IMF has issued a report that says only 30% of Filipino workers are exposed to AI. 70% wala pang interaction with AI at all. So I think that gives you an idea of how much AI has penetrated society. Now, the global average would be 40%, and we are at 30%.
All right, no more follow-up questions. Maraming salamat po, Business World. We have another question. Yes, sir.
Good morning, sir. I am Ricky of Manila Bulletin. So this question is directly to Ma'am Adora. Hi, Ma'am. In the Philippine setting, Ma'am, how can we use AI to combat corruption in public infrastructure projects? And will it be expensive? What do we need to do so? Thank you.
Yeah, unahin ko yung will it be expensive, no? We're not sure if it's gonna be expensive, but the way to approach that is to look at the net cost, no? So what are the avoided costs, the cost of corruption, no, against the cost of technology, no? So we can see right now, no, na there's a huge cost to be avoided, no? 1 trillion pesos yung for flood control projects in the last 3 years, no? So that's, if we could avoid, no, the cost padding, the bribery, and the productivity losses, no, when floods occurred, so that's gonna be huge, no? Now, what to do? Right now, we can look at possible improvements in, if we are to map kasi the integrity actors, we have government agencies, no? We have the implementing agencies, and we have the audit institution, the judiciary. So we have to look at what improvements they can make, no, in their reform processes, despite what other speakers mentioned, fragmented pa yung ating digital services, and fragmented pa rin yung adoption of digitalization. Still, make do with what's available and start integrating AI into their processes. And not only government agencies, no, should be involved, but the partners in the media, partners in the academe, kasi your knowledge producers, and you're gonna be a sort of a third-party validators, no, and the citizenry, no, the citizenry, that's the most distributed, no. So parang when we look at them as the most distributed, no, actors in the integrity efforts or in the combat against corruption, parang they're less powerful because they're distributed, but actually they're the most powerful because they're the ones who elect leaders, and they're the ones who are influenced by the narratives that we are weaving, no, in the fight against corruption. And there can be systems then that can be adopted, AI augmented systems, no. We have tools like AI-powered whistleblower reporting systems and blockchain-enabled reporting systems. Why do we need these advanced tools na blockchain for transparency? To ensure reliability of information, no, not false reporting, and to ensure protection, no, of the whistleblowers, and to ensure that the forensics that will be undertaken will be successful. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. We have a question
Can
from...
I add?
Sure, ma'am.
Can I add?
Go ahead, ma'am, Chris.
Okay, so the usability of AI to combat corruption will depend largely on how much data we feed the AI. Remember that AI is computer softwares that analyzes patterns. And at the moment, currently, our data in the government is not centralized. Digitalization is not widely, hindi pa siya extensively adapted on all segments of the government. So I think that is something that we can work on if we want to use data, if we want to use AI to combat corruption. So admittedly, there are a lot of things that we still need to work on, especially sa mga infrastructure. But what you are saying, is hindi siya malayong possibility. Thank you.
Just want to very quickly add, no, field JEPs, no, that's freely accessible, no, Philippine government procurement system. So we can start with that and employ AI tools, no, to fix procurement.
And then maybe later on we will know if it will cost us. Because will it be expensive? We do not know yet, but sooner or later, maybe we will get a figure. All right, before we proceed to our live media partner, we have an online question from Edwin Galvez of Business Mirror to our panelists. Where should the Philippines place itself more prominently in the many fields of AI? Should we also ensure the building of data centers in the Philippines and enact a law on data localization so that we can protect our local data? So 3 questions. Let's begin with the first one. Where should the Philippines place itself more prominently in the many fields of AI from our experts' point of view? I think Dr. Lallana will take on that question.
Natural language processing, which means converting text to voice and stuff like that, and machine translation. So the Philippines has a variety of languages. We are one of the most varied in terms of languages. And yet, we do not document our languages. And many are dying before they're documented. And so, just digitizing data in terms of languages in the country will do a lot in terms of us understanding our society and our culture. And also NLP as a sector in the AI industry is also fairly large. And a lot of the progress in the future is seen in terms of more NLP adoption in business, governance, and etc. So if I were to bet, I'd bet us on NLP.
Yes, that's a very good point, no? Kasi sabi nga ng Komisyon ng Wikang Filipino, madami nang namamatay na wika dito sa ating bansa. And that, if that is made possible, it would really help buhayin yung ating mga wikang hindi na alam ng ating mga kababayan. Attorney Uy, go ahead po.
I think there's one question on
Enacting a law on data localization.
Okay. So, for us to be able to take advantage of the benefits that AI can actually bring, we have to understand the infrastructure behind it. So, cloud computing is a very big part of AI. We need to ensure that cross-border data flows remain unhampered. Because cloud computing is a cornerstone, no, for digital transformation, because that allows enterprises actually to take advantage of low cost on how they store and process their data. If you're going to require all of the enterprises to maintain local servers to process and store their data, then that will just drive up their costs. And another issue with having a policy where you require that local data should only be processed here is that what about redundancy? So if there's a typhoon or if there's a calamity, then you have a problem now, because if there is a server that is down, then you wouldn't be able, as the data user, you wouldn't be able to access that data. And that's why these cloud service providers, they have availability zones where they have data centers located in multiple jurisdictions. And that ensures the resiliency and redundancy of the network. So that's, so AI is a tool, right? But at the same time, there's infrastructure behind it. And we have to set what is needed. In terms of the infrastructure, is it, for example, driving down energy costs? That's also one of the important things that could accelerate AI adoption, because AI is power hungry. It's water hungry, it's power hungry. So obviously, if you want investments to come over here and develop their models here or do their applications here, it's also something that you need to address.
All right, Dr. Navarro,
Very,
go ahead.
very quickly, kasi part of the question is, should we ensure the building of data centers in the Philippines? Allowed na po yan, no? There are, in fact, near my residence, a data center is being built. But the stand of the government is, to, as much as possible, for these data centers to have their own generating capacity, yung distributed generation.
All right, thank you very much.
I'd like to pitch in, if I may.
All right, Attorney, go ahead.
So interesting market question. I think that the AI fields should really be subject to a market study, but there are a lot of potential fields which I think Filipinos would really emerge as champions. I'm not really in a position to point out which ones because this field is rapidly emerging. But with respect to data and the AI tech stack, I definitely believe that as a country, in the name of things like sovereignty, right, national sovereignty, increasing one's general AI tech stack here in the country is always a good thing. It solves what we call latency. So latency occurs when you have communication lags between points and nodes. So if there is a delay of the data in transit, then there can be security questions. The data that could be stolen or used or manipulated, right? So you'd want to have as many hyperscalers as you want here in the Philippines. Not just plain data centers, but you really need hyperscalers. And then, to my knowledge, there are about 2 here. If you don't have hyperscalers here, then the question on dependency on foreign compute would arise, right? And that dependency, which is a development question, is just like any other traditional dependency question recycled over and over again, where you would rely on the powers that be, wars that occur abroad that would affect the local process here. With respect to data localization, unfortunately, I think this has been a hot button political issue. And it seems to me that there should be a strong economic case in favor of data localization. And I have not seen one, right? So maybe data localization can solve certain efficiencies on latency locally, but with respect to things like redundancy, safety, resilience, I'm not sure if data localization would solve these problems alone. And I think redundancy and maybe co-controllership among several data centers would be a better output. But then again, I think it's really an economic case that I've yet to see. Thank you.
Go ahead, ma'am. Yes po, kindly state your name and the organization you're affiliated with.
Good morning. I'm Miss Marlene from Woodstock. Asking po, how will AI protect the citizens' privacy and right?
Can you repeat your question? How will AI protect the citizens?
Privacy and right.
Privacy and rights. Are there, I think what ma'am is trying to ask, are there measures in place to protect the citizens, their data and privacy with the prevalence of AI in the country?
Great, very good question. The answer is yes. And that would be 2024-3. That is the NPC advisory on AI systems processing personal information. But arguably, even if you don't have that regulation, the Data Privacy Act can adequately regulate all sorts of automated decision-making and profiling and all sorts of types of data processing in the name of protecting data subjects. So yes, there is an existing legal framework. It is not just soft law, but black letter law. The problem, though, is when your AI systems do not implicate personal information or sensitive personal information. And I think that's where many of our other agencies may have to step in and clarify, revise rules and regulations, and reinterpret old statutes so as to bring to bear upon new technology systems.
Thank you.
All right. I believe we have one more question from our partners, media partners and friends here with us at the venue. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Philip from Seafarers Media. I've been attending a lot of press conferences lately. The common factor in terms of problem are updated data. These are usually when we ask something, we don't have yet the updated data. My question right now is, what do you think is the best solution for this problem? Because it has been true to all, particularly all government agencies.
What is the best way to tackle the updating of data from government agencies?
So,
Updated data problem.
yeah, it's also something related to what we're talking about earlier, no, na accountability. No? So government agencies who are generating and processing data must also be accountable to the public and ensure that their data are updated. No? So I hope that the citizenry, media practitioners can bring to the attention of the proper government agencies kung sino yung not generating and publishing updated data. Now, part of the accountability law for government officials and personnel, part of their code of ethics is to ensure, and it's also part of their citizen charters, to ensure that they're delivering correct services to the people. So yung updating of data can also be reasons for them to have administrative cases. So kung meron pong kung hindi mapag-usapan, if the lack of outdated data, especially if this results in damages to people and property, then there can be administrative cases. But primarily, it's the government agencies in charge of data who should update those. Makakaasa po kayo when it comes to PIDS data. We ensure that whatever data are available out there, we use them. As long as we are given access through arrangements like data privacy or data sharing arrangements or agreements that was mentioned earlier.
I think, yes, Dr. Lallana, go ahead.
I think the government must take seriously data governance and must adopt a data governance framework. Kasi ang pinakamalaking source of data is government. But the problem is not that government does not collect data. It's just that government does not digitize data. Diba? So kahit na mountain full of data in a room, useless din yan unless it's digitized. And it's not just digitizing, it must be in a interoperable format, which means, and we do have an interoperability framework already, many years ago, but nobody's following. Diba? So the other thing is also, it is not just standards, it is also the culture. Which means in an environment where information is power, people tend to hoard information, di ba? Mapopromote ako dito, di ba? Sisikat ako dito. And so then there has to be a shift in the mindset that government would at best be data stewards. They don't own the data. They're just taking care of the data. And that we have to adopt an attitude of proactively releasing data. And we already tried that with open government data a few years ago, and it's now being revived with the championship of the DBM secretary. But the point is, this has to be taken seriously, and it has to take root. Otherwise, then other people will just be taking our data through FB and all other tools that we're using, and we will not have our own data to feed our own AI models.
Just to add
Go ahead, ma'am.
what Doctor said. So that's true. Data governance is very, very important. And that's really one of the reasons why we strongly recommended that in our AI policy note. Because we cannot take advantage of technology if we don't have adequate, correct data. And you have to note, like even AI systems, they're prone to biases depending on the type of data that you feed into it. So if the only data that you have would be Metro Manila data, then the results of the AI application will be biased towards Metro Manila data, right? And this is an ongoing issue. But the Philippines is not unique. I mean, on this issue. All over the world, governments have been grappling on this. We can take, for example, the Estonia's model or the Singapore's model on data governance. They have this. They instituted a layer that is owned by government, and all the data from other government agencies gets fed into that application layer, and then this was shared across the different government agencies. So another model is like, for example, you have a platform from one government agency that can be shared and reused by another government agency. So you have an API that will connect both of them. But currently, many of our platforms, government platforms, are not interoperable. The same type of data are being required by one government agency, and if you go to another government agency, they're going to get the same type of data. So I think in one country, I think this is Estonia, right? They prohibited, yes, request only once. So that way, businesses and the private citizens would only give their data once, and this will already be shared and reused. But that conversation requires a lot of other inputs that need to come together for that to actually happen. So one is the privacy concerns, privacy and confidentiality, as well as security. You know that our data classification framework is severely outdated. It's 1960s. So the data classification framework of government needs to be updated. Highly confidential data or highly sensitive data, above sensitive data, low sensitivity data. So all of these types of classification, for example, what the UK system did, they have broad classifications, but in each classification they tier it so that the default of government is actually data sharing or share data, open data, as opposed to restrict data. I think many of government staff and officials are afraid to give out data because the repercussions can be significant. You have laws that criminalizes breaches of data, right? So there has to be kind of like a clear framework that helps government to understand and operationalize what types of data can be shared, what can be shared in which circumstances, and what is prohibited to be shared. So that's just one issue, the confidentiality and the data classification. And then, of course, you have privacy issues, which is covered by the DPA. But then also you have to have the structures and the champions within government in place to ensure that that logistical framework within government for interoperability could actually happen. And I think the open data government, open government data, you also have the PEGIF, the Philippine e-government interoperable framework. So those are like good steps that we can take, and it should just be taken seriously, and many efforts and resources poured into that, so that we can have, just to add.
Go ahead, ma'am.
In Singapore, the government, so they have IMDA, right, which is their kind of like digital transformation office. So what they did, I remember this during a training, they put all data, I think regarding the data on traffic, I think, they put it in one portal and allowed their citizens access to it. And because of that data mall, they call it a data mall, where you can shop for, or you just get the data, innovation actually exploded. There was a launch of so many apps using that data that was published by government. So you can see the power of data as a harnessing mechanism for more innovation, and that could help our economic development.
Again, following from what you've said, so we now have a greater problem. Number one is, the first question that I raise is about updating of data. So following your statement right now, again, updating the policies. So that's the bottom line. So if we incorporate it to our AI right now, that would be looking at it, it would create more problem.
We want to
we're
create
looking for the
solutions.
solution, actually. We're looking actually for the solution.
In the process of identifying solutions, we uncover greater problems. Not only lack of updated data, so interoperability pala, and transparency. And by the way, that's the first step, no, updating and making that data transparent. The next step actually is uncovering what is wrong with the data. So we have open government, and the cost of projects, the budget for the projects are out there, can be easily accessed. But do the citizenry know which of these projects are padded, costs padded? Diba? So that's the first step, no? Transparency in terms of data and updating the data and making sure that data infrastructure are interoperable. Very important question. Salamat po.
Sige po,
Thank you.
salamat, ma'am.
Maraming salamat, Dr. Navarro. And sir, thank you very much for your question. We will now proceed to another question from our online viewers. This time it's from Tisha Davis from the Foundation for Economic Freedom. And her question is, given the rise of digital platforms and AI, does PIDS see potential for integrating transparency technologies like public view digital chains into governance, research, and implementation?
Yes, that's our advocacy actually, no, to have public view digital platforms. And fortunately, our Philippine Statistics Agency has that, no. Hopefully, our DPWH, no, can have at least as a start, no, geospatial based data on projects, so that we can see whether projects, kasi the citizenry who can access the public view digital platforms can see whether there are ghost projects. Kasi if geospatially identified and then nothing's going on in that barangay, no, then that must be a ghost project. So very, very important question, and thank you. That's our advocacy. We're also pushing up one of our partners, DepEd, no, to have public view data on digital platforms.
Yes. Ay, may pahabol pa po na isa pang katanungan from our Facebook viewers. This time it's from Miss Precious Love Toledo. Her question is, with our government still struggling to fix basic problems like data leaks, inefficiency, and such, are we really ready to bring in something as powerful as AI? Or are we just setting ourselves up for bigger failures that we won't be able to manage for the meantime? Go ahead, Attorney.
I'll take this one if I may. I think AI risks and harms will occur whether you like it or not. All right, and there's no control over, unless you would be living in a dictatorial regime where information is controlled. There is no control over the use of, little or no control over the use of platforms and data, and of course the providers that come your way, right? So if adoption, I think, ought to be read with the management of risks and harms. And if the issues of risks and harms are not taken on in a very responsible and proactive way, then they will occur in the course of adopting AI systems. So just think of very large-scale catastrophic events. Right, like let's say you have a smart energy grid or a smart city solution, deploying traffic signals, and allocating resources here and there, telling cars where to go. Right? Imagine if that is subject to an adversarial attack, some sort of model attack, right, or some sort of data poisoning. Then you have just deployed a very expensive, maybe multi-billion peso system. Right, and no matter how much planning you go in there, if you have no or very little appreciation and measures that can mitigate and manage risks and harms, then your AI adoption will tank, right? So I'm actually advocating for something more existential. Whether we deploy, or whether we change the budget on adopting AI into, let's say, public procurement or PPPs or other projects, regardless of how fast or slow that goes, I think AI risks and arms are here to stay, and they will accelerate. So it's a question of how can we govern such use cases that come our way in order to manage these harms.
No, I do agree that it is important to have AI governance. There's no choice, right? People are using AI. It's not like we can stop it. Right? So we face the problem already, and we cannot take this stages approach to it. Ayusin muna natin yung data governance, ayusin muna natin yung AI, yung basic literacy before we adopt AI literacy. We don't have the luxury of doing that. It is here. It poses real threats and harms. And so I think the first thing, the very important thing, is to adopt a governance framework that provides guardrails, that provides limits. No, don't specify what you can do, just specify what you should avoid, diba? What we could prevent. And within that space, then let people experiment, let businesses do their thing. But you just have to have guardrails. Otherwise, the history will pass us by. And that we will have the worst of it. We will not be able to harness AI for productive uses, and we will have people misusing AI, leading to a deterioration in our politics and our society.
All right. Maraming salamat po for those very good points. I believe we have no more questions from our media partners and friends with us here at the venue. Do we still have time for one more question? All right. We can accommodate one last question, ma'am. Go ahead po.
Good morning. I'm Melody Kwan of Radio Filipino Americas. We are based in United States. So you probably know that the US is already fast with regards to internet and AI. So my question would be, what is your research or projection? When will the Philippines will be at par, or even not at par? When will it, projection years, when we'll have a fast internet? Because it will not be implemented without the fast internet, right? So all of my research, I also been a graduate of economics. I want my research to be implemented. So the question is, what is the projection, or what will DBM says or the ICT all about this?
Do we have any numbers?
So we're talking about internet connection.
To be able to support
yes. So we actually just passed Konektadong Pinoy, which is the Open Access and Data Transmission Act. DepDev spearheaded the passage of that legislation through my office for the 19th Congress. And we strongly believe that it will deliver, because what the law does is it takes away a significant barrier to entry into the data transmission market. Before, if you're a data transmission provider, meaning you want to provide internet, you need to have a legislative franchise before you can put in place data elements of the data transmission network, meaning yung mga kable or the radio network. You need to have a legislative franchise. You need to go to Congress and get that franchise. And then after that, you go to the regulator to get a certificate. Now, with Konektadong Pinoy, you take out the legislative franchise requirement and you just go straight to the regulator. The idea there is that it will open the data transmission market to new and small players. And with the increased competition in the market, you would have lower prices, better services, and more innovation. And that's the goal of the law. And that's actually one of the legislative agenda that you can find in the Philippine Development Plan. The idea there really is that you have better internet for consumers. At the same time, you increase access, because the more players that you have in the country, that will increase connectivity. So we're not there yet. It just recently lapsed into law. And currently, I think government is still doing the implementing rules. But it's a major reform, and it's supposed to transform our telecommunications market.
Two last insights from Attorney and Dr. Lallana.
Okay. I agree that Konektadong Pinoy is a milestone. It will do a lot of wondrous things. But I think it also has its limits. I really do not think that we can achieve inclusivity in terms of access solely through a market-driven approach. Right? The market-driven approach is good, but it has, at best, it has its limits. So there's still a proper role to play for government to be able to address marginal communities. But that means government must be innovative, which means the technology solutions are already there. I'm not a big fan of Musk, but Starlink is great for GIDA. No? It provides instant connectivity. So it has to be a mix, really, of both private sector-led as well as focused, effective, agile government response to address specific issues or areas of concern.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. I think what we're seeing right now, and I'd like to look at the whole AI space in the Philippines as something that should not just be solely government, but it should be, well, the DTI calls it the triple helix, right? So you have the private sector, you have the industry, you have the academe, you have the public sector. I like that coinage of terms, but I think we have to distinguish between the strategy, the national strategy, right? And unfortunately, we have a number of agencies jockeying for being the lead agency and putting forth a national strategy, right? And it's quite sad that we have a fragmentation of publications, white papers, but there is no lead agency, right? And I think also, it's also because of the nature of AI. Who is to say that DOLE will not have a say in being a lead agency when there could be massive workforce disruption? Who is to say that, let's say, NTC will not, or let's say DICT will not be the lead agency because of all these cross-functional, cross-domain impacts of AI across all these departments? So is it therefore a presidential question or an executive order, maybe, right, instead of an agency question? And I think that the national strategy on AI should be comprehensive and it should be cross-domain, cross-functional, multidisciplinary. And someone ought to lead. But the second thing is, I want to distinguish between the national strategy and governance vis-a-vis the laws. I think if we wait for something like the EU AI Act to occur, right, which has some strategy in it, but it's not really a strategy, then we will wait for another 5 or 6 years. That's not going to happen. That shouldn't be the case. As to wait for this grand monolithic law to encompass everything, right? We don't have the systems of the EU where they have very extensive systems for public consultation and interaction of EU bodies and units and agencies, right? What we have is something more similar to the United States. But what I think is that we do have existing laws that can be used to mitigate and manage harms and even used for innovation, like the Philippine Innovation Act and so on and so forth. We have enough legal frameworks for that to occur in the short term at very least. Right? But for the medium and the long terms, always remains to be seen whether we come out better with better policies and laws and statutes. But I think if for the immediate term, governance and national strategy could be something that the executive body could consider to race forward, right? Because there are immediate requirements which should not wait for long deliberative efforts that would maybe come about maybe 5 or 6 down the line.
All right. Go ahead, Attorney
Just
Uy.
to add to what has been said, the law that I was mentioning actually is not just a market-based mechanism. It also promotes infrastructure sharing, especially access regulation as well, and significant market power obligation. So these are the ways where government would be able to drive access, connectivity, because for example, there will be an access list, meaning the bigger players would have to open up access to some of their network elements if they are included in the access list. And this is how government could drive the uptake of and improve the connectivity even in the GIDA areas, because the only ones that have infrastructure nearby would be those that have been players for a long time. And also, significant market power obligations are also imposed on the bigger players by the Philippine Competition Commission. And that's one way where government is still regulating the market to ensure that growth happens where it's needed the most. And also with respect to the leadership, I completely agree. And that is why I think the president, when it created an AI think tank under the National Innovation Council, has tasked DOST to take the lead in developing the national AI strategy. Hopefully, what we can see in the following months is that the country, working through all the member agencies in the NIC, or the National Innovation Council, will have that first steps in a governance framework for the country.
All right, thank you very much for those insights, Doctor and attorneys. And with that, we are ending our Q&A. Maraming salamat po to all our speakers. But before we let you go, can we request some final thoughts or parting words from each of you? Let's begin with Dr. Francisco.
Oh, yeah. So, we must be we must think about this. No, the gap in AI capabilities is widening as we speak. In the developing countries, naturally they are the leaders, but we as a developing economy, despite our lack of infrastructure and other problems that we have, we must create our own frameworks, we must create our own policies, and we must not only adapt what other developed nations have come up with. Why? Why is it important to shape our own AI governance? Because our realities may be different from theirs. Their priorities may be different from ours, and we have to ensure that our policies reflect our own realities. And this is the importance of this conference. Thank you so much.
Words. In the conversation of AI, it's here, whether we like it or not. So we need to ensure, so there are a lot of foundational things that we need to fix to be able to fully benefit and utilize AI. And some of those foundational issues include upskilling, digital skills, digital literacy, data literacy, AI literacy. I think it's very, very important. Aside from connectivity, we need to focus on education and upskilling our labor force. So that's my bottom line.
Okay, parting words, very simple. As I mentioned earlier, our objective is to trigger discussions on AI. I hope we have triggered you enough. And let's look forward to promises, discussions of promises, pitfalls, and solutions. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. I think I'd like to end with the notion that AI will not solve everything. There is a bias towards AI, and we call it algorithmic exceptionalism, AI exceptionalism. All right? To realize that AI will not solve all your problems, but it can solve some and many, then information literacy is key, digital literacy is key, and I think studying and reading what AI does will go a long way in empowering many of us.
I'm becoming extremely disillusioned with national strategies, at least as far as the Philippines is concerned. I think, let me use music as an analogy. The Philippines is not a classical music. It's classical music, diba? May score, everybody follows, there's an orchestra, and there's an orchestrator that will tell which to come in when, right? I think that is futile for the Philippines. Our governance, I think in music we're more like jazz, right? We improvise, we innovate, And yet, JAS is not just may foundation, right? Merong mga basics that you have to attend. Education, digital public infrastructures, but do not overly govern. Let them innovate, and that's where Filipinos shine. Kaya lang ang problema natin, the foundational elements are not there yet. And I don't think, and really, just start where we can. For instance, the data problem. There's a fairly simple solution. Government can simply say that from here on in, all data of government must be born digital. Let's not collect analog data anymore. Let's start with digital data. So, digitization of all data will be great, but that will take time. But if we start collecting digital data now, across government, then you start the foundation of having data that then you can use for your AI tools. Yun lang.
Again, maraming salamat po to our panel. It's very unfortunate that we have limited time because it's very rare that we get to pick the minds of such experts. But just to seal this moment, may I ask our panelists to please stay on stage, but rise up for a photo opportunity. For this moment, I guess I will also call on the officials of a PIDS are also present. Kindly join our panelists on stage for this photo opportunity. Making this September by adding the official DPRM 2025 profile frame via the link that I believe will be flashed on screen or is part of the caption of our post for today, and join the nationwide call to shape AI for smarter, fairer, and more transparent governance. We will now take a coffee break to recharge, but for our on-site participants, do not wander too far because right after the coffee break, we will move to a very exciting highlight of today's program, the first ever Saliksik at Balita PIDS Media Awards 2025, and I'm sure you don't want to miss it, so please be back after 10 minutes. To our live viewers via Facebook and Zoom, we wish to express our deepest appreciation to all of you for joining us this morning. And let me invite you to the 11th Annual Public Policy, which will be the culminating program of the DPRM happening this September 18 at the New World Makati Hotel in Makati City. Interested participants may register on-site or online at the link that will be given to you by our PIDS friends and partners. It is highly recommended that you register early as slots for on-site participation are limited and will be confirmed on a first-come, first-served basis. Online participation via Zoom and live streaming will now only be available to the morning plenary session, as the afternoon sessions are exclusive to online attendees. We would also like to invite everyone to visit the DPRM website to know more about the activities for this month-long celebration. And yesterday, the official DPRM profile picture frame was also launched, so you could take part in the movement by generating your own frame via the link that will also be posted on our official PIDS posts. And finally, the presentations and link to the video
to the videos and the presentations that our speakers shared today will be uploaded on the PIDS website for this event. Once again, thank you very much, and we look forward to having all of you in our future events. For our on-site participants, see you after 10 minutes and later after the program. Please return your accomplished feedback survey to the registration booths in exchange for a token. Maraming salamat po, and we hope to see all of you again after 10 minutes. So our online participants, maraming salamat po, and have a pleasant morning.